Marcus King doesn't exactly look like a rock star carved out of a Hollywood mold. He's the guy with the easy southern drawl, the unruly hair, and a vintage Gibson strapped across his chest like it's a piece of his body he forgot to take off. But when he closes his eyes and pulls a note out of that guitar, the whole room goes quiet. He's been doing this since he was 8 years old, sharing stages with grown men in smoky bars while his classmates were still riding bikes. He's toured with Chris Stapleton. He's recorded with Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys. He's been produced by the legendary Rick Rubin, and somewhere along the way, he almost lost himself entirely. Let's take a closer look at the life of Marcus King. The Greenville beginnings. Marcus King was born on March 11, 1996 in Greenville, South Carolina, and music wasn't a hobby in his house. It was practically the family business. His father, Marvin King, was a well-known blues guitarist in South Carolina who also played with gospel acts, and his grandfather was a regionally popular musician too. So by the time little Marcus picked up a guitar, 3 generations of King hands had already been worn smooth on the strings. He started playing at a remarkably young age, and at 8 he wasn't just practicing in his bedroom. He was on stage playing shows with his father. At 11, he played guitar on one of Marvin's albums. 11, most kids that age are still figuring out their multiplication tables. But here's where it gets interesting. Being a child prodigy isn't always the romantic story people imagine. Marcus would later say he hated being called a prodigy. He recoiled from the label the same way he recoiled from teen angst. To him, the guitar wasn't a trick. It was a language. "I can say more truthfully in song what I can say in words," he once said. "Music breaks down the awkward barrier." And he had a lot of awkward barriers to break down, because he was also a quiet kid, quietly wrestling with social anxiety, long before he ever stood under stage lights. Skipping school, chasing sound. In his teens, Marcus put together his own band and started juggling club gigs at night with school in the morning. He and his bandmates called their sound soul-influenced psychedelic southern rock, which is a mouthful, but it's exactly the kind of mouthful you'd expect from a teenager who'd already studied Duane Allman, B.B. King, and every player in between. Eventually, the schedule caught up with him. Marcus made a choice most parents would lose sleep over. He dropped out of high school in his junior year, got his GED, and went all in on music. No backup plan, no safety net, just a guitar and a calling. The Marcus King Band takes off. The Marcus King Band officially formed in 2013, and the rise wasn't slow. By 2015, they'd released their debut album, Soul Insight, on Warren Haynes' Evil Teen Records. Yes, that Warren Haynes, the Allman Brothers and Government Mule legend who took Marcus under his wing. Soul Insight reached number 8 on the Billboard Blues Albums chart. Their self-titled second album in 2016 reached number 2. Carolina Confessions in 2018 hit number 2 as well. For a kid not yet old enough to legally rent a car in some states, Marcus was now charting on Billboard and being mentioned in the same breath as the Southern rock greats. But the band was just the beginning. Going solo and a Grammy nod. In 2019, Marcus announced his debut solo album, El Dorado, produced by Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys at his Easy Eye studio in Nashville. This is where the story takes a sharp left turn into the bigger leagues. When it dropped on January 17, 2020, the Associated Press declared, El Dorado already stands out as a definite high point of 2020. The year had barely started. The album earned Marcus a nomination for Best Americana Album at the 63rd Annual Grammy Awards. Not bad for a kid from Greenville. 2 years later, on August 26, 2022, he released his second solo album, Young Blood, again produced by Auerbach. Billboard called it a staggeringly confident work, and it debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Top Blues Albums chart. The cracks underneath. From the outside, the career looked like a rocket. From the inside, Marcus was unraveling. In an essay he published in Billboard in October 2024, he wrote that his first drink came around age 12 or 13. Intoxication helped summon a muse and quiet his social anxiety. He spent most of his teens and early 20s under the influence. While the world watched a Grammy-nominated guitarist conquer stage after stage, Marcus was quietly losing the war with himself. In 2017, he lost a close friend, a singer-songwriter named Matt Reynolds, nicknamed Curfew. Reynolds died by suicide. It was a wound Marcus carried for years, and one that would eventually shape his most important work. Marriage, Rick Rubin, and a brutally honest album. In 2023, Marcus married Briley Hussey in a lavish ceremony at the Schermerhorn Symphony Center in Nashville. The photographs were beautiful, the wedding was magazine-worthy, but he was still privately fighting. That fight cracked open in 2024 with the release of his third solo album, Mood Swings, released on April 5, 2024, produced by Rick Rubin at his Shangri-La studio in Malibu. Rubin had become a fan of a video of Marcus's 2020 Grand Ole Opry debut and invited him out west. What came out of those sessions wasn't a guitar showcase. It was a confession. The whole album's subject matter is really focused on mental health and struggling with it, Marcus told Spin. "I didn't think I'd live to make another album," he admitted in another interview. Sobriety and the Curfew Fellowship Fund. Sobriety became the foundation of everything that followed. Marcus has spoken openly about how community saved him. And earlier in 2024, he launched the Curfew Fellowship Fund, named for the friend he lost. The foundation raises money for causes close to him and builds a sober support network for musicians battling addiction and mental health challenges. In Marcus's own words, if Curfew, Hank, Billy, Towns, or any of the other greats lost to addiction had access to a sober, supportive community, their careers and their lives would have been longer. Where he stands today. Today, Marcus King is still touring, still playing the music his grandfather, father, and younger self prepared him for, but with a different man holding the guitar. He's clear-eyed now. He talks openly on podcasts about therapy, sobriety, and the music industry's quiet mental health crisis. The Marcus King Family Band reunion in South Carolina draws thousands, alongside acts like the Avett Brothers, Band of Horses, and Sierra Farrell, with $1 from every ticket going to the Curfew Foundation. So what's the takeaway from the life of Marcus King? Maybe it's that talent gets you on stage, but it doesn't keep you there. Maybe it's that a child prodigy and a grown man trying to save his own life can be the same person. Or maybe, when you watch him close his eyes and pull a note out of that old Gibson, you understand exactly what he meant all those years ago. That some things really are easier to say in song than in words. If you enjoyed this video, check out our other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.